when you ask a coach, hey, what's your culture? Ask players, hey, what's your culture? A lot of times they'll give you, we work hard, we run offensively, we press, whatever it is. To me, I think a program has to have an identity to where you ask the players, you ask the coaches, what's our culture, what's our identity, and they all give you the same answer.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we are joined by the head boys basketball coach at Southlake Carroll High School, David Markley. He just finished his 15th year of coaching overall. He's been a head coach for 11 years and has 170 wins. Before coming to Carroll, Coach Markley spent 9 years as the head coach at Chisholm Trail High School. At Chisholm Trail, he led the Rangers to a district championship and was named District Coach of the Year. In college, Coach Markley was a 4-year walk-on at TCU. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
What's up, Coach?
What's up, Coach?
How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on here and talking hoops with me. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I also know you've had some great guests in the past. I hope I hope I can come somewhat to their level a little bit.
I appreciate that. It has been a lot of fun. I've been really excited about this talk because one, I mean, our schools are about 5 to 10 minutes away from each other, but being public and private, there's not a lot of crossover or interaction. But for me, it's always fun to get to build relationships, especially with those guys that are close and are around to you. So this is an honor for me.
No doubt.
I read something out there that I thought was interesting. It was about when you first took over there, how you told the seniors that you weren't there for a rebuild. And I thought that was really interesting, like a cool take on respecting them, respecting the time. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been a part of a program yourself, like maybe as a player or anything where there has been a coaching change. I think sometimes we forget to think about the players that are moving right along with that coaching change. So I was impressed with that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I've never been a fan of see it all the time in college. Well, wait till I get my guys in here. Those guys are your guys.
Yeah.
Even though they're seniors, you owe it to them to give them a great year, great senior year. And here at Southlake Carroll, obviously, the expectation is excellence. With our other sports here, and hopefully we can get that thing rolling in boys basketball as well. But to me, it's not, hey, let's wait a few years to get our guys and get. No, we wanted to get going from the start. So, and those guys did a great job, and they had a tough go of it. You had a coaching change, you had the COVID year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But they were great. And they kind of got us hopefully going in the right direction.
Yeah, so buy-in is something that you hear quite a bit. That I think it's a goal for all of us coaches to have that buy-in from our players. Were you able to feel that buy-in from them just even in 1 year?
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt. I mean, as you know, it's all about building relationships with kids, with players, and those guys knew from the start that it wasn't, hey, we're gonna bring up these young guys, and you guys just you kind of get sacrificed. I told them, like I said, like you said, that we're here to not for a rebuild. We're gonna get going from the start.
Yeah.
And I felt like the buy-in was there with those guys, and unfortunately, we were one play away from making the playoffs, but they did a great job. They gave a great effort, and they were all in from the start.
Awesome. Just to share a little bit, my first year here was a lot like that. 2013-14, I inherited a team that the group of seniors I had, I was their third coach in 3 years. So they had already had multiple changes. So, I mean, I just had so much respect, and you probably feel the same way, so much respect for them, not instantly just checking out, writing me off. And then it was up to us, right, to come in and to pull them into the culture. And really what I tried to do, and you probably did the same thing, was I wanted them to look at themselves more as the foundation, not just something a time we were trying to get through to get our guys well said, but you're the foundation, you're the beginning, the building blocks of something really special. And those 7 seniors I had that year, 6 seniors, they really did that and still feel that way to this day.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel the same way, and I told those guys, like, "You guys you're laying the foundation that, hopefully the guys we got coming up, the returners, the JV guys we got coming in, they saw how you worked, how you bought into our culture, our identity, and, like I said, hopefully it's the spark, and we get it rolling from there."
Culture is that buzzword
Yeah,
that is used a lot now, but and as Coach Fitch from Birdville
that's my
said,
guy.
culture, we never he said that we never even used to use that word,
Mhm.
but it's always been around. It's the standards.
Yes.
It's the way that you show up every day and choose to be. So, how, in your opinion, does culture drive performance?
Well, for me, when you ask the coach, "Hey, what's your culture?" Ask players, "Hey, what's your culture?" A lot of times they'll give you, we work hard, we run offensively, we press, whatever it is. To me, I think a program has to have an identity to where you ask the players, you ask the coaches, "What's our culture? What's our identity?" And they all give you the same answer.
Hmm.
To me, and for our program, it's 5 for 1. We put on everything, our social media, our shirts, every sign, in our locker room. But obviously, your culture isn't a sign, isn't a shirt. It's what you do every day, your habits. And for us, it's 5 for 1, and what that means is it's on the most basic level. It's five guys playing for one thing, and that's the team. But really, it's about every decision we make, everything we do is about the team and serving others. And to me, if a kid can identify with that, um, and it makes them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And we do it in every aspect of our program. It's about 5 for 1. What are we doing for the team? How does this drill? How does this player run in a game? Who plays to pregame meal? It's all about the team, and it's the culture we're trying to build here at the Southlake Carroll. And they're getting there. It's hopefully, it turns in almost like an adjective, how they describe anything. Hey, man, that was very 5 for 1 of you. Hey, that wasn't
Nice.
five for
Yeah.
one. So to me, I think it's really important that you have an identity that everyone can gravitate to, and you know be detailed with it.
I think you're right on the money with that idea of ask anybody in your program, and hopefully they can identify the phrase or a few phrases that's what your program is all about. And
Mhm.
sometimes I don't know if you've ever felt like this. I'll finish a game, and I'll think back, or maybe even watching film of an opponent. I don't really know what their identity is, what they're
Mhm.
trying to accomplish. Even if we still sometimes, if teams aren't successful in trying to do what they're trying to do, we can tell and we
Mhm.
know it's but I like what you said about how culture, it isn't just your offense, your defense, running and gunning, shooting threes, anything like that. It's that, and also how you live off the floor. I thought that was good.
Yeah, and for us, it's talk about watching video. We had a parent film one of our fall league games the other day, and we're just watching that, and it's to me it goes way beyond just how do we do defensively? Did we jump to the ball? Did we set a great screen here or there? It's are we being good teammates? And for us, we watch a lot of video, obviously, and we got a big sign in our locker room. Um, and it talks about being 5 for 1 and doing things that require extra effort, and showing unity. And so what we'll do is we'll go back and I'll watch the game, and obviously we chart the regular stuff, stat it, all those kind of things. But we also chart, did we get loose balls? Did we take charges? Did we run in transition? Did we pick teammates up when they fell? Like the expectation is, we all four of our guys to sprint and go pick them up. When we sub, the expectation is that everyone on the bench stands up, to celebrate their teammates. When you make a big three, we make a big deal of this. You hit a shot. We don't do the arrow or the three. It's you point to your passer. You
Yeah.
thank your
Yeah.
teammate for a great pass. And we really hammer those things every single day, and to the point where it's second nature to those guys. And one of my favorite things is, on free throws, the expectation is you get a touch, make or miss, you get a touch.
Hmm.
And so these guys get in the habit where they shoot a free throw and they won't even look back. They'll put their hands back because they know two teammates are coming,
Yeah.
to give them a touch, give them a high five. And doing those things, it gives kids something to buy into. And it's when they see it, we do those things, we chart it, we put the sticker up, the dragon magnet on our board, they see it. and it makes them feel a part of something that's something that can be special and something they can buy into.
I love that. Once you start once you have those standards, then and players are starting to live up to. They start to look forward to those markers, like you said, of putting magnets up. Then the responsibility is on you as a coach to continue to do those things, because I think as positive as it is to do the things that you're doing, you take a break, you stop, you forget. I think it quickly erodes and goes away, right?
Yeah. And to me, it's not just our players. Like, the expectation is our coaches are preaching the 5-for-1 stuff. Our parents understand it. Because to be a great program, it takes everyone pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, all the stakeholders.
I think they have to have, what our identity is in mind at all times. And if we make a shot in practice during the drill and we don't point to the passer, we stop it. Hey, man, tell your teammate good pass. And and kids, they're going to do what you tell them to do for the most part. Right. They want to celebrate each other, and they get it pretty quick.
Yeah. Talk about fall league a little bit, because I do like to have this conversation with coaches about spring league, fall league. What positives do you see from having your teams participate in it?
Man, I'll tell you what, I go back and forth on fall league and spring league, because these kids, they're playing so much.
Yep.
Especially in the spring and summertime, which is great. So in the spring and summer, we kind of back off. We have our workouts, but that's the AAU season, and those guys, they're doing a lot.
Yeah.
And so we want to give them that time. And when the fall gets here, we kind of want to ramp up a little bit. I'm always kind of worried about doing too much still, because you want to be healthy, when October 26th rolls around. And right now, at the moment, we're kind of beat up right now. And we played in a shootout this past weekend with 7 guys.
Oof.
And it's
3 games, 7 guys. Yeah.
Your younger guys are getting some much needed experience. So I think there's a balance there.
Yeah.
But I think it is important to kind of, you're starting to put in some offense, some defensive stuff you want to do through the year, see what looks good, what you got to work on. I think it's important, but I struggle at times to find how much is too much, how much is not enough. But I do think it is important to get your guys into some competition for sure.
Coach, I don't always volunteer my thoughts or my opinions on things, because this is really about you. But I mean, if you don't mind, I'd love to tell you where I've become, because I had this talk with our girls coach all the time about that stuff. So do you mind if I kind of share what I think?
I'd love to hear it.
All right. Man, years ago, we had a player named Tyler Lumblade that played for us all the way up through his junior year. It was right before the COVID year. He went and moved to North Carolina to go to a prep school, but he was incredible. And when he was going after his sophomore year, he was going to be doing some EYBL stuff with Drive Nation. I know that's a higher level than the majority of our players that are going to play select ball, are. But like you said, they do have 2 seasons. That was well said. They have 2 seasons now. They have school season and select season. And I love how you back off. You let them, because we don't want to, in school season, say, hey, it's about Southlake Carroll, nothing else. But now select season say, oh yeah, go do that, but it's still about this. And like, we can't do that, and there's going to be unneeded friction with our players. So so I asked Tyler, hey, here's something coaches to think about. Like, ask your players, not just your best players, but your players, your major stakeholders in your program, like, what works best for you? What do you feel like is going to help you to become the best player? Because we want that input from our players. And so for Tyler, it was, does spring league help you? Well, not really, because I've got practices the other nights. Yeah. I'm playing on the weekend, and we got to remember, Coach, like, they still have homework.
Absolutely.
And they're still high school kids. So we pulled away from that, and I loved it. And then the fall league and the shootouts came around, and that part of me that, I played in them as a player. When I was at McKinney High School, we did them, and all these other coaches are doing them. So like that, we sometimes, I think our players have that fear of being left out. Like, I think coaches do too. And it's like, if everybody else is doing it, man, we got to be doing it too. Absolutely. We're going to get behind. Yeah. And well, Coach, I haven't done a fall league in 4 or 5 years now. and I used to put a few in shootouts, but then probably like you, I was like, well, I'm only going to do shootouts if everybody can do that. If everybody's going to be there, well, crap, you got one or two that are out of town that weekend.
Yeah.
And then, this fall, it's like we're ramping up for our season. I don't want them to get injured in games that don't matter.
Yeah.
I know every game matters, right? But they don't. And I can't coach them. Even at a private school, I can't coach them, which I don't know about you. It's frustrating to sit up in the stands
Yeah.
and watch it. And then I also thought to myself, I'm holding players accountable for things that, I mean, I can only hold them accountable for things that we've truly been working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, I love the idea of filming it and going back over it with players. But then the danger is that I'm getting onto them about things that, maybe a year ago we worked on, but we're not really working on now. And then the final thing was I saw players starting to make some decisions on how it's going to be from a fall league game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yes.
So even TABC shootout during the summer, first meeting with the guys, which that one I like because college coaches are there.
Yeah.
We can coach them. And it's like, okay, we're part of the process. But I even told them meeting, I said, number one, what happens this weekend does not mean it's going to happen in November, December, good or bad. So this weekend is just what it is. And so all that to say, I haven't felt like we're behind in not doing fall leagues. I think the kids get to go home after school and they don't have to see me or hear from me or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just kind of where I've gotten to it but I think also like maybe I kind of gotten on the fringe of something like even training and shooting threes and all that, to where I don't mind thinking a little differently, but that feeling of, man, everybody else is doing this, like it's still there.
It's funny. So you mentioned the great Coach Fitch a few minutes ago. We've had some great talks, and one of those was about fall league and spring league. I remember sitting next to him a couple of years ago when I was at Chisholm Trail. We're sitting there, and he just goes, "What are we doing? Why are we doing this?" And I said, "Because you're in this. Because you're doing this, right?" And it's kind of, well, if College Heritage is doing it, then we got to do it. If Keller's doing it, we got to do it. So I definitely feel that. One thing that we've done a little bit different is not necessarily been in an organized fall league, and I kind of like this, is we've kind of gotten together with some schools in the area and kind of had some organized open gym.
Nice. Yeah.
And to me, that's gone a little bit better than a fall league. And I'm gonna echo what you said about, kids thinking that what happens now in September and October is what's going to happen in November and December, which is not the case at all. And you'll see it. They'll put out there who they think is the starting five, like that, and then the guys that are coming next are thinking, well, I'm not going to play. I'm not a starter. Which would, man, we're in October. We haven't decided anything like that just yet. Yeah. And you don't want to get those kids with these preconceived notions that this is how it's going to be, like you're saying.
That's right. And it's almost like we have to save them from themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Like everybody says they want to play more games until, like Coach, until you're at them going like, what really is being achieved here? Because here's the thing: if individual development all year long is what we want, and then ultimately at the right time of the year, it translating into team success, like that's what we're going for.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when we talk about select games and how that really doesn't develop players, practice does. Mm-hmm. Skill work does.
Yes.
Those because the best players only have the ball in their hands for about 2 minutes in that game. I mean, if you really time it. And the lesser players, it's even less. So like to say that, well, my guys are getting better during that time individually, I don't know. I happen to think that 43 minutes of skill work in our athletic period trumps in one day trumps everything they'll get. Now, there's always like Coach Littleton's one of my friends from Flower Mound, and he looks at it as a way of helping him to see, because they have so many people. Well, like probably like you do, they have so many people, they got to make cuts, and it's like I look at it to see, okay, give these guys a little bit more of a chance to be seen for an evaluation. I like that idea.
Yeah. Definitely. And I was talking to my staff the other day about this, I would love to have like a big research done on teams that play in all kinds of stuff in the fall. How does that translate to success during the season? I mean, is there at all? I've
Yeah.
thought about just calling every coach in the area and say, how much did you play this fall? And
Yeah.
then seeing how well these teams did. Because there's some great coaches that I've talked to that do nothing in the spring. I'm like, you don't play in anything? They're like, Coach, we do nothing. And it's teams that are really successful.
Yeah.
And I used to be that coach when I was younger that, man, we got to play. And like you said, they're doing so much. And especially at a place like Southlake Carroll, and I'm sure at Faith is
Yeah.
they're loaded with homework.
Oh
They got
yeah.
all
We're
kinds of
very
academics
similar
they got to do.
clientele between
And
our
they need to be
schools.
kids. They need to
Yep.
be kids for sure. And you don't want to
Yeah.
overdo it. So I think it'd be great to get some data and see how much is really worth it.
I'll tell you the data that what really solidified this for me, because I've always often thought like unless God opens up clear doors for me that I'm supposed to be somewhere else, I'm very content with where I am and being faithful here. But the year that made me think, yeah, like we definitely don't need to be doing that. It was the COVID year. Because
Mhm,
coach, I didn't do anything with them in the spring.
mhm.
I didn't see them hardly at all in the summer. And then we actually went 6 weeks of just online at the beginning of that school year. And so that group had less touches with me than ever before, and they played the less. And we had a couple. I mean, we lost that Tyler Lumblay kid. He left that year. We had a kind of a brand new team, and now it's 5A taps. It's definitely a different level than what you're at. So I'm not, but we made it to the semis that year. We made the second deepest run we've ever made. And it was because of the players, the buy-in, the way that they worked
Mhm.
together. They really cared about each other. But I thought to myself, okay, like I think if I'm not going to do the spring league, the summer league, the fall leagues, the shootouts, then I really have to make sure that I'm maximizing their time in the athletic period with skill work. We use performance course before school, just like a lot of schools do.
Yeah, we
And
did that too.
yeah, so it allows me just to be on the floor with the guys. But my thought is if I do that right, then I can honor their time. And I try to think about this too. And my last point, because I'm rambling and this is your time and I apologize.
No, I'm enjoying it, coach.
But uh, I mean, come October 17th, like I'm going to take 6 days of their year or of their week. I'm going to take their time.
Yeah.
And so why am I taking it outside of it as well? But I get it. That fear is still there.
Mhm.
It's the COVID year that helped me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, we talked about TABC. We did that as well, and you got to do it because it's great for kids. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's helped. We got a couple of our kids have gotten recruited, and there's a couple I think got a great chance to play college basketball because of the TABC shootout, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But I was worried because we guys on vacation, we hadn't practiced, we had that the hour workout or whatever, um, and we played pretty well. We looked good. And I'm like, maybe we don't have to do all this stuff after all.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of goes back to your culture. If kids are buying in, they're gonna put in the work. They're
Mhm.
gonna do what it takes.
Yeah. I think especially if skill work is the majority of your focus. And I don't mean to, this offends any coach out there. I really don't mean it to be that way, but working on shell drill in the spring, I just start working on closeouts or blockouts, like work on their handle, work on their
Mhm.
shot, help them play 1-on-1 and 2-on-2, allow them to play pickup, allow them, just to have an opportunity to experiment. Because coach, where do players experiment anymore? Because everything is structured.
Yeah.
Like you and I used to go to the playground and try stuff. And now
Yeah.
they don't have that because everything
No.
is select team structured, high school structured, skill coach structured.
Yeah. Like you just said, I used to go to Grapevine Rec as a kid and just go play. And when I played at TCU, we only had a couple hours workouts a week. It wasn't very much, but we had open gym where you'd go play. Um, and it's like these guys are doing so much. And
Yep.
I used to be that coach as when I was younger. That man, we got to hammer them on this, but I learned real fast that let them play, let them get better.
Mm-hmm.
And now they got to understand that when we play pickup, it can't be we're not going to waste our time.
Sure.
Let's get some good work in.
But that goes back to your culture too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's 45 minutes of good pickup, that's better than an hour and a half of bad pickup.
No doubt.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
So after I've ranted and raved, for about 20 minutes there, how long, what is one of your favorite culture building activities?
I know you just kind of got it with a little bit, but to me, we do shell every day. And it's not just for defense. To me, it's everything we preach is involved in that drill in some way, both offense and defense. Whether you're taking a charge and your teammates go and sprint to pick them up, whether you hit a shot offensively, pointing to your passer, the communication piece is huge. Talking to your teammates, those kind of things. To me, that's one drill that we try to do now. We won't do it in the off season. It's more, skill, trying to get better. But when we get rolling, we do shell every day for 10 minutes just to.
Are you primarily a man-to-man team?
Man, we had that conversation today. It's to me, I've always been a man-to-man guy. That's just what we've always been. But I think now it's you got to be multiple. Now there's some teams and there's some great man-to-man coaches. I was very fortunate. I got to work with Coach Durant at Chisholm Show for a year.
Nice.
And before then we were big time man-to-man most of the time. And when he got there, I said, "All right, Coach, what's the secret? Show me the secret of 3-2."
That's right.
And there's a lot of ways to do it. But I think with shell, it's more of a mindset than anything.
Yeah.
Of being tough, being physical, and getting us going that way.
Coach, I used shell as an example, but it could have been anything really especially in the spring. And especially in the spring. It's all just personalities. Like, at Faith, we're going to run and gun and have some fun, but also like the idea is in the spring, building them up to be the best player for their select teams as possible. And also too, helping their timeout, because I think as coaches, we're guilty of, we have our time with them and we do things. Oh yeah. But by the way, when you leave, shoot 300 threes. Well, crap. When do they do schoolwork? When do they chill? When do they be a kid? When do they go to select practice? So try to help them with that. But this time, the fall and definitely in season, like shell is great just for like man-to-man defense. It's like dribble drive for any offense that you run. It's the offense behind what you're doing. It's those concepts. For sure. Man-to-man is the defense behind anything else that you do, even the 3-2 zone, which I happen to love. Yeah. And you're right. There's so many ways to do that, but you still have to have those principles. But what I love about what you said is taking something like shell, but really using it as a way to work on your entire culture. I think that's great.
And what's great is that the kids ask for it because they compete, they get after it. It is part of our culture, like I said, because it's theirs. They own it and they have fun with it. They enjoy it. And we want our practices. The expectations. We got enthusiasm, we got energy, we got effort every single day. And shell it gets it out. It gets it out of them.
Well, do you mind kind of just going through what are your what's the way that you run it, even though it could change maybe day to day, and then what are the layers, the order of layers that you take through it?
So really, it's pretty basic. We go 4 guys on offense. We go corner, wing and wing, and then we got defenders at the elbows, at the blocks. I'm underneath the basket, or coach underneath the basket. We chop our feet, we throw it out there, we just go play. And if we stop it. If you didn't jump to the ball, now you're not seeing both.
So it's primarily live.
We go live. Yeah, we go live. Now we'll break it down in the fall and once practice gets going. But really, it's a way to just get going and competing. And it's an offense as well. Like, hey, I'm not penetrating. Let's replace there. Or hey, the dude's staring at the ball. Back cut.
Yep.
But again, for us, it's more of, it's not your traditional shell where it's just offensive stationary. We're moving
Ball,
it.
ball, ball, ball,
Yeah,
ball, wall,
it's
wall, 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 wall.
yeah, it's more that we get it. It's his 10 minutes of competing and getting after
Yeah,
it.
I
It's
love
moving
that.
hard.
Yeah, that's good because you could take that philosophy 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, disadvantage games, small advantage games. The beauty of, or small sided games, the beauty of all of those is it's two sided. You're learning how to scramble
Mhm.
defensively, and just sometimes defenses comes down to you just got to make it work. You got to
Yeah.
figure it out quickly.
Mhm.
Life's not perfect, and you got to make it right. And those games really help a ton. I love that, Coach.
Yeah, and it's we like I said, we break it down, but then when we really get after something, we go live, and and then if it's if someone doesn't rotate, we'll stop it and say, hey man, hey, you got to help right here, or your feet on this closeout. We don't want it to go middle, whatever it is. But really, we want to see them compete and do those things. Part of our culture as far as communication and like I said, pointing your passer, picking up teammates, taking charges, diving on the floor, those kind of things. And I think it's a great way for your practice to kind of get going. And
Yeah.
we'll start out our practices with our skill work, and then we'll go right to shell right after our skill work, and then go from whether it's dummy offense or um, working on zone work, whatever it is after our show.
Coach, you do show work like that every day. I'm fully on board with that.
Mhm.
No problem at all. I take back. No, I don't think I said anything bad about your shoulder.
No. It's
yeah.
but again, it's in the season. It's in the fall.
Yeah.
I'm with you in the spring for sure.
We're not diving for loose balls in the spring. So individual skill development. I think so many people say they believe in it, say they do it,
Mhm.
but then if you really look over your practice time, is it 20%? Is it 50? So how does individual skill development work into your daily practice?
Well, when I was playing at TCU as a walk on a long time ago,
When
as
were
a
you
kid,
there?
I was from '02 to '06.
All right. So we had a little crossover time there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved as a player how it was. We would go bigs and littles for the first 30 minutes every single day, and it would just be skill, skill, skill. And as I've gotten to become a high school coach, I've kind of organized our practices that same way. Um, Now it won't necessarily be bigs and littles every day, but now we will split up where we take all of our JV bigs, varsity bigs are all together with a coach, and then we have all of our guards doing ball handling or shooting or whatever it may be. Uh, but we could also have, with just the varsity, just the JV, but it's always a skill based where we're shooting, passing, dribbling, those kind of things every single day for the
Like
first,
that.
at least the first 30 minutes.
Is that increase at all throughout the season? Does it decrease, or do you feel like you try to keep it steady throughout?
I'd like to be pretty consistent with it. Again, as I've gotten older and I've gotten more experience, I used to be that guy that said, "Man, we got to practice for 3 hours. We got, you don't need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more important to keep your guys fresh and not burned out in January and February. So we'll do schoolwork every day. And then if we take anything away, it'll be the live stuff.
Yeah. Coach K said, I mean, he really sold me on it. Anything he says, I think is gold. Anyway, like you should be
I'm a big dude
listening.
guy.
Should be
So,
listening. But he said that, come January or conference time, it's all 5-on-0. And what he meant by that is like they're not going against each other hard at all.
mhm.
Because at the end of the day, those reps and I mean rebounding drills or anything like that in practice at that time of year, is it worth a player potentially not being able to be on the floor in the game?
Oh,
And I
for
would
sure.
argue it's not.
Yeah. Like, there's a time and place for a charge drill, but man,
Mm.
I don't like the practice charge drills because the last thing you need is your best player taking a charge and drill, falling on his wrist, and he's out for a month. You know what I mean? You can talk about taking charges and why it's important, and they got to
Yeah.
understand it.
Celebrate it when it does happen, so
Absolutely.
players can repeat that. Yeah,
But we're not going to sit here and just knock each other,
Coach.
in November and December with district rolling around. So I
Coach,
totally understand
what
that.
is it about being young? I think it's because when we were young, we still felt like we were invincible.
Mhm.
And so if what we were asking our players to do just made sense. But yeah, you're right on the money. Like I've used to be the guy that would have 3 lines with now sometimes I'd put the cheerleading mat down, but
Uh-huh.
3 lines and just have somebody knock him, slide over, knock him, slide over. that doesn't translate to more charges in practice, but all it does is it possibly, concusses a player or does something. So yeah, I'm right with you there.
And we have, I mean, it's tough because our expectation is in a game you take a charge.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it goes back to the culture piece. They know that, they understand it. So I don't think we got to get better at it. There's no doubt. There's no doubt we got to get better at it. But to sit there and just, like you said, just beat guys down with the ball, I don't know how productive that really is.
Yeah.
The risk reward to me isn't worth it.
It's not. And I'll tell you, I really try not to ever, ask people or tell people, hey, go listen to this episode. But the episode with Chris Oliver from Basketball Immersion, like if you haven't listened to it or coaches haven't, a lot of these guys that are kind of outside of, coaching a team, they have some really interesting ideas that make you think about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and does it actually lead to winning? And he said, he was like, diving on the floor for loose balls, taking charges. In the grand scheme of a game, how many times does it really happen? What does lead to winning, which ultimately is making more shots, keeping the other team from taking high percentage shots, those 4 factors, right? So like in practice, when we're doing I'm going back in time, the VCU drill, where I have a guy take a charge, they dive on the loose ball, knock it back in, and then they save it. And we all come together. Yeah. But then there's my big that just sprained his wrist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did that lead to winning? Yeah. I don't know. So I'm not at all against those things, but listening to those guys, man, it makes you think.
Mm-hmm. And to me, one of the worst things, and again, as you get older, it's funny, you get older, you kind of you realize it. A lot of times, that's what's always been done. That's what
Same with volley.
When I was a kid, that's what we did. To me, like there's some things I'm like, man, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Is this going to help us with basketball games? If it's not, then what are we doing? So yeah, again, it goes back again to the culture. If they understand it, if that's the expectation, you don't need to practice it. They know.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. So there's a debate I feel like that's out there, and I used to be a really big part of this debate, and it's or engage in it, system over players, meaning I have my system and any players that I have at this school or that come in, they can fit to it, or do I see the players that I have and I create the system around them or style of play around them? Where do you land?
To me, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. But from my perspective, I think you have to adapt. I think as a coach, you need to put your players in the best position for success. And whatever that is, if it's, you're going 5 out or you're going, you got 2 bigs, you're going, 3 out, 2 in, whatever it may be, or zone, man. I think you put your kids in the best position possible. And all of that under the umbrella of your culture.
Yeah.
Because again, one of my favorite questions to ask the kids is, what defense do we play harder in, man or zone? And their first answer is, we play man. We play harder man. But the answer is no. You play hard at both of them.
Yeah, I was going to say why.
It's great because you're like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. If the standards and culture set that effort is like breathing, we have to do it. Then you play hard no matter what you're in.
And at Chisholm Trail, we had a really good team. Won a district championship, top 5 in the state. And we had a 5'10" guard who was an All-American D3 player, but we had a 6'3" 2. We got 6'6", 6'6", 6'10", had a 6'7" off the bench. I mean, we're big, we're huge.
Yeah.
And we go 2-3 zone, and we go side to sideline. And we zone that year. And we threw it inside that year. Now the next year, when all those guys graduated, we were itty bitty. We didn't have a guy over 6'1", and
Mm,
so we could really shoot it. We had some athleticism, so we'd go 5 out
yeah.
and space you out and do those kind of things. So to me, I think it's, again, I don't think there's a wrong or right way, but from my perspective, I think you as a coach, you put your kids in the best situation to be successful, um, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I think it shows a maturity, on your part as a coach of recognizing that there was a time where, when I say maturity, I think there was a time that, because of maybe some success we had running and gunning and some things that happened with making threes, that I started to believe that it was the system more than the players. That it really wasn't about who we had in there. It was just how amazing the things that we were teaching, that we were doing. It's really pride and arrogance. And then you take a few lumps and some losing seasons trying to do the same thing. And then what Chris Hill said at Jesuit, he's like, he takes every year like it is brand new.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't think of the success or the failures from the last
Yeah, I
season,
like that.
and he takes it fresh. And
Yeah.
that is something that hard to do, right? Because you watch film from last year's team, you're like, man, I love that. That looks good. And you start to think we could do that again. Maybe you could, but you got to be careful.
Yeah, and I think even in your own program, as a coach, you look not just to this year, but to the next years, and our JV is not like our varsity. Our freshman is not like our JV,
Yeah.
and we're going to run a lot of the same concepts and our verbiage and those kind of things. But if, for example, keep 5 out motion, if that doesn't fit for our freshmen, let's give them something that they can do.
Yeah.
Because in the end, like I said, it's about being a player.
Yep.
And they're going to buy into to the overall culture and what we're doing. But I think it's putting your kids in the best position possible. We say at Southlake here we got to be multiple. We're not going to have the kids that can just go man to man, full court all the time. Now there might be times where we can.
Sure.
There's times where, like, shoot, we got to go zone. We have to go zone. We can't guard these dudes.
Yeah.
They're too athletic, too big, whatever it is. But I think it's just in going back to development and being an overall player, and having that kind of mindset.
And I really like that point you made about when you move down the levels from JV to freshman and even into junior high, maybe the language, like you said, has to stay the same, because language and culture are connected. The way that you speak to each other, that's your culture, off the floor, on the floor, and off the floor. But then maybe, and you even use the word concepts, right? The concepts that you're teaching with how you rip, how you attack, what you do when you catch it, all of those things can translate down while you're giving your other coaches the ability to learn and do things themselves. I used to be the guy that you're going to run everything exactly the same all the way down the line. And then my 8th grade coach is getting his head beat in, trying to press man like we were doing. And I was setting him up for failure. So that's a good point by you, coach.
Yeah. And again, it's, as long as they're playing hard, and we'll get them in the right spot. That's our job, is to put them in the right spot as coaches. But as long as they're buying into the culture and they're doing those things we expect of them, and I don't think it matters as much as people think what you do. It's more how you do it.
That's good, Coach. Coach, that's the tagline. That's the tagline of the podcast.
I know it's kind of cheesy, kind of cliche, but each game is different. Each possession is different.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to go to our 2-2-1 press. That's what they put in a guard that can't handle. Let's go get them a little bit.
Yeah.
Now they're bringing they got the 6'10" skilled kid. We got to do something different.
Coach, it's
whatever we're doing, we're going to do it the right way.
You nailed it, man. It's not what you do, but how you do what you do. That's important. And then Tom Inman, years ago, man,
great coach.
He was, and I was still at McKinney High School, young coach, and I was down at Austin at the state tournament and just happened to see him. I went up and I said, Coach, how'd you win state, man? How'd you do that? He said, Matt, we're jockeys. Like, the best horses win.
Yeah.
And now he's right in saying that, but to his point too, like a great coach like him could take a bad horse or average players and probably make them better, make them a little more competitive. But at the end of the day, those guys that you have, you do the best you can with them. And it's like we lost to a team, McKinney Christian, last year. They were bigger, faster, and stronger at every position, and they were more skilled. So coaches will ask me, like, with our offense and what we do, well, what do you do against a team like that? Well, we might lose. Like, we might. It's possible, very possible. We have to play pretty perfect, and they have to do some things that are uncommon for them. But to Tom's point, like, and our point, take a little bit of stress off of us on it's all about our scheme, and it's all about no, like, develop, have the culture like you're talking about, and then let it go.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate here. We can run a lot of stuff. We got a lot of great backdoor looks, a bunch of awesome sets. But to be successful, you can't live on sets. Kids got to go play.
Yep.
And I think teaching kids how to play, how to read things. Okay, here I need to slip on this situation. Hey, I need to go back door in this situation. That's going to help our kids more than hey, we're going to run this set. This is the perfect set. It works So I agree. It's all about getting them to be the best player they can, for sure.
That's a good point too, because if you think about it, a lot of possessions, unless you plan on every change of possession, catch and hold, walk the ball up the floor, look over at me, I'm in control of everything, joysticking. Unless you're doing that, I mean, think about transition off a make or a miss or a steal where you're pushing it against a disorganized defense. Think about broken plays on the offensive end where a pass does get deflected, but it's loose and a player grabs it. We tell our guys, like, those are golden opportunities to find wide open looks.
Exactly. Absolutely.
If your guys are taught to make plays and attack like you're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's, we'll go in transition and, these kids, especially at South, they want to please you. They want to do what's right. And so, they think, hey, we got to run the set, and they'll pass up an open three in transition. And you got to stop and say, why didn't you shoot it? Oh, we're going to run such and such. Okay, what's the point of running this play? To get a good look. Well, you just passed up the good look. We got it in transition. Shoot the ball, dude.
Yeah.
And, I think is the game is it's kids have more fun when they don't have to worry about, hey, we got to, do this the right way. And again, I've grown as a coach over the years. I used to want to control everything.
Yeah.
And I realized, you got to let them go, let them play. And
within the concepts that you've taught.
Absolutely.
Because it's not just pickup. So I think when people think, like you're saying, let them play, that's not really what we're talking about. Letting them be aggressive and attack within the concepts and structures that we've taught. Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll know what's a good shot, who needs to take that shot. Hey, I need to attack and try and kick and whatever it may be.
There's natural hierarchies that. Sorry, Coach, I keep interrupting because I'm excited, so I keep interrupting you. There's hierarchies, especially when you develop skill and you do a lot of shooting games. Players start to understand who should be getting the most, and it's amazing how the ball has energy.
Yes,
and it seems to find the right person from time to time.
We're at our best when that ball's popping, when that ball's moving.
Yeah.
And it's it's not a set I call. It's sprinting offense. Just playing basketball. And like you said, it's within a framework, it's within guidelines. It's not just, a free for all.
Yeah.
And they know that, but it's letting them go a little bit. And it's like I said, if you're going to call a set down every single time on the court, it's tough to win games that way.
You're going to be very scoutable at that point. The Daryl Crafts of the world at McKinney North, they're going to know everything you're doing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. He kicked my butt last year.
I think balancing coaching and family life is difficult. And anybody that says they got to figure it out, I asked Mike Neighbors how he does it. He says, I don't try to balance it. It's going to be, it's impossible too. Yeah. But with something that you're so passionate in, you spend so much time, what are some tips for maybe you're balancing your work and your home?
Man, it's this job takes a lot of time. There's no doubt about it. I love it. I can't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I love coming to work every single day, but it can be tough with, especially I got two little ones at home. It's something I definitely got to work on. And being a great husband, being a great father, And there's things that have really helped me as I've gotten older. One is just being organized. Like if you know you got a fall shootout October 15th, as soon as you let your wife know, hey, on October 15th, we're going to be in Frisco or wherever in a shootout. I think that helps you with your spouse for sure. One thing I try to do, and I'm fortunate here at Southlake, is I get to pick up my son from kindergarten.
Nice.
That's great because everything's in the morning for us, which is awesome. And I highly recommend get your work done in the morning if you can. Get up early, get stuff taken care of in the morning. That way, when you come home after practice, you can spend some time with your kids. And I'm fortunate I get to go pick him up from kindergarten. When I get home, this thing right here, man, it doesn't stop. It's non-stop, 24/7. Text, emails, calls, and I'm not complaining. That's part of the job. That's part of it. But I try to, when I get home, put my phone away, put it on the table for a couple hours at least, and just enjoy my family, and not worry about that stuff at that time. Now, after the kids go to bed, you can answer some emails, jump on Huddle if it's that time of the year, doing those kind of things. But this job it can be taxing at times. It's tough, but what's great and having kids will put in perspective.
Yeah,
especially young ones. They don't care if you won or lost. They don't care. You can win a big district game. You get home, they don't care. Or you lose the buzzer, lose a tough one. They don't care. Your dad's home.
Yeah.
So I think it puts it in perspective real fast, and you've got to find ways to get away. And also for your mental health, for your, you got to get away. Whether it's exercising, watching the Cowboys, whatever, you got to find time for yourself as well, or you'll go crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever met a coach that doesn't care about his players. Parents sometimes think that, but maybe there's degrees of care. But I have never met a coach that's been doing it for a long time that doesn't care. So I've told players and families over the years, like 24/7, you have my number. You need anything, let me know. That type of access, do you think that that's healthy, wise, or should you have more of a limit on that open door policy with players and families?
Well, like you said, this is about players, and our players, to me, they're family, and I want them to be comfortable with me. Whether it's they can text me and call me. Now they understand I might not call you right back, or I might not text you right back, but they know I'm there for them. So I don't give them any kind of parameters to say, hey, don't call me from this time to this time, because they need to know that I'm there for them for sure. And like I said, I might not get back to you immediately, but I want to be available to those guys. But there is a way, like I said, just put the phone away.
Yeah.
Put it in a different room. I try not to check email at night because sometimes you get that email at 11 o'clock.
Man, you start
11, and you're like, oh,
you start going through that rabbit hole. Yeah.
So I try. I'm getting better at it, and just not checking that email until I wake up in the morning. But I think it is important that your players know that you're there for them. But at the same time, and they know they know. Hey, if coach doesn't get back to me immediately, it's okay.
Yeah. I like that idea of waking up early and getting things done while the kids are asleep, while your wife is asleep. Kind of that golden hour time at the beginning.
Yeah.
What time are you getting up in the morning?
I get about 5 o'clock each morning. And we've kind of got, again, going back to being organized, is having a routine.
Yeah.
And so my job before I leave for getting over here is I make the kids breakfast each morning. That way, when they get up, sometimes they're already awake. They're up, but the breakfast is made. And that helps out your wife in the morning when she's got to take the two kids to school and or whatever they got going on that day. I think staying organized, getting a routine, having, hey, here's what you need to do each day. Whether it's laying the kids' clothes out the night before, whatever it is, that really helps.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. Coach, I feel like, man, from just our talk so far, like I've gotten to know you pretty well, but after the speed round, like I'm going to know you like a friend. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Favorite ice cream flavor? Man, chocolate chip cookie dough.
Nice.
Chocolate chip cookie dough. I love ice cream. Can't go wrong. If I had to pick, I had to pick chocolate chip cookie dough.
I could feel it. I could feel the passion for it right there. Uh, how many hours of sleep do you typically get?
To me, 5 to 6 hours.
Do you
I'm
need
good off
more?
that. What's that?
Do you need more? Would you like to have more? Or are you good with that?
No, I'm good. I think there's some days I wish I'd get more, but I typically it's 5 to 6, and I feel like it works for me.
Nice. Best basketball movie of all time?
Best basketball, man, that's a great question. White Man Can't Jump is a great one.
Nice.
Man, Hoosiers, obviously. That's the
Yeah.
classic. I'm sure everyone says that one. Hoosiers.
Yes.
My all-time favorite, I gotta go Blue Chips. I love Blue Chips. That's such a great movie. I gotta go Blue Chips.
And the basketball parts were decent at too. But I think anytime you're dealing with real basketball players,
Yeah,
like the movie Hustle, like the basketball in
I
it
haven't seen that one yet. I've heard it's good.
it's okay. What's his name? What's the actor's name in that?
Adam Sandler.
I was thinking Billy Madison. I
have seen that movie.
His part, him talking about basketball and stuff. But they were all NBA players working in it. So like the basketball was incredible.
Yeah.
They actually looked like players. And so I appreciate that. This is huge for high school. Shot clock or no shot clock?
Okay. Here's my, if you told me it could be executed the way it should have been, I'm all for it. I think it's the argument that I don't like is it prepares kids for the next level. I get it does, but how many of our kids are playing at the next level?
Yeah.
I think for the sake of the game, I think it's better basketball.
Yes.
It's and you can do a whole lot of stuff defensively, offensively with the shot clock. What the only concern I would have is, man, we have a tough time as it is. I'm not saying here at Southlake, but in general, of getting people to work a regular clock and scoreboard. So if you told me we could get it done the right way, absolutely, I'm all for it.
Love that. Texting or talking?
Texting.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
In basketball,
I like Thanksgiving too. I like that Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah. A lot of coaches say July 4th because it's the one holiday we kind of get. We really get.
That it did pop in my mind.
In basketball, who is the GOAT?
Oh man, I'm gonna get. I think it's LeBron. I know. I think if you think about he's around our age. Remember him coming out of high school, all the hype that kid had coming out. To me, now I haven't been a big fan of his Lakers.
Yeah.
His Lakers
still won a championship with them.
But yeah, I guess the bubble. Did you count that one?
I count it. Yeah.
If you look at LeBron in his Cleveland days and his Miami, he always makes the right play. That's what I always loved about LeBron is he can do so many different things. And I'm a big Jordan guy for sure. But if you had to pick one basketball player, and I'm sure people get really upset about this one, I'm taking LeBron.
Coach, I think your argument's good. I mean, just from the basketball player standpoint, the build, the athleticism, the durability, his skill set is incredible.
Yeah.
And as much as there's been times in his career where I would love to see him defer less, the fact that he does defer and he does set up his teammates, and he is Jordan could pass. Was Jordan a willing passer? I don't know. Like I would think never had to doubt in Jordan who was going to have the ball. And unless he was triple teamed or Steve Kerr's wide open right there, he's taking it. With LeBron, I've always felt like this ability to, it's your time. I think that's why players love playing for him. And Yeah, Coach, you might have had some people click off right when you said that. No, but I think you're right. But you're so right about the social media pressure that when you're labeled the king, what are the odds that you actually do well?
Live up to it and
and
exceed it.
And he's been so great for the game. I think Jordan's the GOAT, but I don't like
You can't
LeBron
go wrong.
haters. I don't like the LeBron haters at all because he's been great for the game.
I don't get the LeBron hate. Now, I mean, like you said, the social
decision
media,
was bad. The decision was bad. Can we say that?
That was awful. That was terrible.
That was bad.
There's no doubt. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But could you imagine if social media was around when Jordan was playing? What that would be like? And to me, I think the game has evolved.
Yep.
I think the players are better now.
Yep.
I really do. Not to disrespect, those guys that played, in the 90s or 80s. But I think, like, look at a guy like Giannis. I mean, come on. Like,
what would he have done? What would he have done?
Yeah.
But I just, I think, and you had mentioned a little bit earlier with players and things, and I think basketball is the best now that it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm again, not to ruffle feathers. Yeah, ruffle any feathers from people that I loved watching. Me and you grew up in the 80s, and then the 90s was when Jordan was, and that was right in our prime, teen years and stuff. And then we've been able to witness Kobe and LeBron, seeing what Curry has done with these guys, and the size and skill of these dudes now. Guys like Luka that just make you just dream and imagine like what the game could be. It's an incredible time for it.
Going back to LeBron, I don't think people understand how big he is too.
6'8".
Yeah.
6'8", 240, 50. 60.
And to me, he can also guard 1 through 5.
Yep.
I can't remember what series it was where he's guarding, who was it? It was Chris Paul. He's guarding Chris Paul one possession, then guarding their big on the next. And he can do a whole lot of different things. So
if you were to compare him to one player, who would it be?
Who's that, LeBron?
Yep. Who is he? Like, who is he now, like a version of?
He's a much more athletic Luka.
Okay. I was going to say a much more athletic Magic. For sure. Because of the passing, everything, leadership. He's bigger. He's more athletic. And he's probably a better shooter too now later in his career. Coach, I'm with you. I still got Jordan, but I'm not far off.
You can't go wrong. It's and again, like you said, the NBA and NBC as a kid, that was you're watching Jordan in the Garden.
Just watch The Last Dance, and you're like, okay, that dude is different.
So, I change my mind every day on that one. You can't go wrong.
Yes. Just a couple more. If you could travel back in time, what period would you visit?
Oh. Never thought about that one. I think I'd be scared to go back too far back in time.
But remember, you're just visiting. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to be you don't have to live there.
Okay. Jeez. Maybe go back to that 90s again. Go revisit those days.
Go to a Jordan game.
Yeah, there you go. For sure.
2 more. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
I do not drink coffee. I don't drink. I'll do what I've discovered is it's a great product called Liquid IV. They have these energy packets. It's about the equivalent to a cup of coffee.
Okay.
I've never liked that. I've tried it. I can't do coffee. I don't like it. And so what you do is just pour it in your water bottle and shake it up. And
Liquid IV.
Liquid IV. Mm-hmm.
Who make is that the name of the company? Okay.
Yeah. You get it at Costco.
Okay. I'll check that out.
I get a big old tub of them and just load up.
Nice. Last one. Godfather, Star Wars, or neither?
Neither. I'm not a big movie guy.
Okay.
If I watch a movie like you mentioned, I'm much more like the Billy Madison, like you said earlier.
There you go.
That's much more my speed.
Coach, I'm telling you, man, this was so enjoyable for me. One, I think you and I are aligned a lot of ways with the way that we view the game and view culture and players, but also just an honor for me because believe it or not, I mean, we're private. I don't even feel like we're on the same, we're definitely not in the same league. We're not on the same level. The size of your school, the size of ours, level of play, all those things. But because we're so close to you, like I'm always rooting for you guys, and I want to see Southlake do really well. And I feel like you're just the guy to set it up and to do amazing things there, man.
No, I appreciate it. I've enjoyed my time here. Being at Chisholm Trail, I was very fortunate to start that program up from the scratch. We started, from day one, opened up and building that program and had a lot of success, and hopefully, kind of doing the same thing here, starting that culture, building that culture. Because at Southlake, there's excellence is a standard here at Southlake Carroll. Obviously with our football program and the great job
But
Coach Dodge does.
everything there.
I mean,
yeah.
And boys basketball's kind of been the one program that hasn't been as successful as the others. And I think it's more difficult in boys basketball for sure. But there's no reason why we can't start building that success here. I'm excited. I think we're heading in the right direction. I'm excited for this upcoming year. Got some great kids that are buying in, and hopefully we can get it rolling. It's going to be tough. It's a tough district. There's a lot of really good players in our district. So.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you again so much for your time. This was awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Coach. Thank you, man.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.